an omega who sees spirits, an alpha king marked by fate, and a bargain that should have saved her, but instead bound their souls to a danger older than any kingdom. When Thorn vanished into the cursed wildlands, Lyra did the unthinkable. She followed, and what they discovered there should never have been awakened. Stay with me. This is the night their destiny began. The torches along the great hall flickered with a hungry glow, their light carving long shadows across the banners of ancient wolf sigils. Beneath the scent of pine resin and roasting venison lingered something heavier, the musk of gathered alphas, simmering with dominance as they waited for the night's selection. I kept my back pressed against the cold stone wall, wishing desperately I could melt into it. The other omegas around me stood in delicate silks, hair braided with crystals, skin smelling of sweet oils. By contrast, I looked like the wildling I was, dark auburn hair unbound, skin dusted with forest pollen, rough wool garments instead of ceremonial lace. Straighten up, hissed my escort, an older beta woman with a hawk-like face. Her grip dug painfully into my arm. The Alpha King of Frostfall doesn't tolerate slouching. Show respect if you want to leave this hall alive. I swallowed hard but said nothing. Respect was a coin I had no interest in trading. Not after what my village had done to me. 3 days ago, I had been collecting snow moss near the river bend when 2 council members approached my cottage with stiff expressions and colder intentions. Lyra, Elder Bran had said, not meeting my eyes, there is an opportunity for the good of our people. Opportunity. A pretty word for sacrifice. My village's safety, they claimed, in exchange for sending me, an odd, quiet omega with a strange connection to things unseen, as their offering for the seasonal tribute. A peace gesture to the Alpha King whose armies patrolled the borders. My grandmother's pendant, a carved obsidian crescent moon, rested against my chest beneath my simple dress. Her voice echoed in memory. Never bow your spirit, little wolf. They can cage your body, but only you choose whether they cage your heart. The massive doors at the head of the hall groaned open. Conversation died instantly. Even the flames seemed to hold their breath. A figure stepped through, massive, controlled, dangerous. The Alpha King. But he looked nothing like the icy tyrant I had imagined. King Thorn wore a mantle of silver wolf fur that rippled across broad shoulders, his dark hair tied back to reveal a face carved in strong, almost cruel lines. His eyes, gods, those eyes, were the shade of storm clouds before lightning strikes. 4 elite warriors followed him, each bearing scars and the cold confidence of killers. Thorn paused at the center of the hall. Every alpha lowered their head. Every omega held their breath. Then his gaze swept across the line of tributes. One glance, then another. When his eyes reached me, they stopped. Frozen. Focused. Too intent. Something electric snapped between us, and for one impossible heartbeat, the world fell away. I swore I heard a faint echo, like wolves howling in the back of my mind. His expression darkened, unreadable. That one, he said, his voice quiet but carrying like thunder. The omega with the unbound hair. Dozens of heads swung toward me. My escort inhaled sharply. Gods help you, she whispered. 2 of the king's warriors approached, each taking position at my sides. My pulse hammered, but my feet felt rooted in stone. This wasn't possible. They weren't supposed to choose me. I was the token offering, the girl my village expected to be ignored so they could maintain peace without losing anyone valuable. But Thorn didn't even glance at the other omegas. He had chosen me and only me. As they escorted me out of the hall and into the labyrinthine corridors of Frostfall Keep, one warrior, a woman with jagged tattoos, spoke quietly. I've never seen the king choose so quickly. Or look, she hesitated. Like that. Like what? I whispered, unable to hide the tremor in my voice. Like a man scenting something he's hunted his whole life. My stomach twisted. This couldn't be happening. Not to me. Not to the strange omega who saw flickers of spirits. Not to the girl who had been thrown away. But as we reached a set of iron-bound doors carved with moonlit wolves, the warrior paused. "Whatever happens," she murmured, "do not lie to him. And do not run. The king doesn't chase fugitives." She opened the door. I stepped inside, and King Thorn waited for me alone, firelight gleaming against bare steel and cold stone. His eyes lifted to mine, and I felt my fate shift. The chamber door shut behind me with a heavy thud, echoing through the vast room like the closing of a fate I hadn't agreed to. The air inside was warm, almost too warm, heated by a massive stone hearth along the far wall. Pelts of white wolves lay draped over carved wooden furniture. Maps covered an entire side of the chamber, marked with red ink and the sharp scent of ink and iron. King Thorn stood near a table of untouched food, arms crossed over his chest. Without the fur mantle, he looked even more dangerous. The firelight revealed corded muscle beneath the dark shirt, scars like pale lightning tracing his forearms. His storm-colored eyes studied me with unsettling intensity. "You're not what they claimed you to be," he said. My throat tightened. What did they claim? "That you were," he paused, searching for a diplomatic word, but finding none. "Unstable. Touched by madness." I stiffened. "I am not mad." "No," he said quietly. "You are not." He stepped closer. I resisted the instinct to back away. When I entered the hall, Thorn continued, "I scented something I have not felt in years. Something ancient. Something that does not lie." I frowned. "And what did you scent?" He held my gaze. "Truth." It was such an unexpected answer that it struck the breath from my lungs. Truth. Not fear. Not submission. Not obedience. Truth. I swallowed hard. "You chose me without knowing anything about me." "That's where you're wrong, Lyra." His voice dipped lower. "I sensed everything I needed." My heart beat too fast. He moved to the small table and poured water into 2 wooden cups before offering one to me. My hand trembled as I accepted it, and our fingers brushed. The brief contact sent an odd warmth skittering up my arm, some instinct rising in response to his presence. He noticed. His jaw tensed. So did mine. I stepped back quickly. "If my village lied to you, then release me. Send me home." Thorn raised a brow. "Is that what you want?" "Yes." The answer came too fast. Too sharp. He studied me for a long moment. "Your scent says otherwise." Heat rushed to my cheeks. "My scent is none of your concern." His lips twitched, the closest thing to a smile he had shown so far. "Everything about you is now my concern." The words seemed to fill the room, heavy as the fur pelts, warm as the fire. I forced myself to remain steady. "My village only sent me because they wanted to rid themselves of me." "I know," he said softly. My breath hitched. "How?" Thorn reached into a drawer and retrieved a folded parchment. He held it out. I hesitated, then took it and opened it with shaking hands. It was the letter my village had sent to Frostfall Keep. Only now did I see what they had really written. "We send Lyra, an Omega whose mind is fractured, who speaks to shadows and claims to hear spirits. We offer her as tribute, for she is of little use to our people and may bring misfortune upon us." My vision blurred with humiliation. Heat pulsed behind my eyes. I folded the parchment quickly before the tears could fall. Thorn watched my reaction not with pity, but with something sharper. Anger on my behalf. "They hoped I would reject you publicly," he said. "Shame you. Hurt you. Perhaps send you back disgraced." My voice cracked. "Would you have?" He stepped closer, slowly, deliberately, as though approaching a frightened creature in the wild. "No," he said. "Because the moment you entered that hall, every instinct in me recognized that you were," he exhaled, shaking his head slightly, as if restraining something. "Not what they believed you to be." I took a shaky breath. "Then what am I?" His gaze locked with mine. Someone my instincts refused to let go. The room seemed to shrink around us. I forced myself to speak. "If you do not want me as your tribute, then let me leave. I'll go far from the borders. Far from Frostfall Keep. You'll never see me again." His eyes darkened. Is that truly what you want? Or merely what you think you should say? I didn't know. I truly didn't. Before I could answer, he walked past me and gestured toward a smaller adjoining door. There is a hearth-warmed room prepared for you, he said. You will sleep there tonight. I blinked, startled. Not here. His jaw clenched. I will not force an Omega into my bed. Not even for a bargain or tradition. A strange relief washed over me, followed by a strange disappointment I refused to name. You will eat, rest, and tomorrow, when the sun rises, you may decide whether you wish to return to your village or remain here under my protection. I stared at him. Just like that? Just like that, he said quietly. Your choice, Lyra, not theirs. His kindness made my chest ache far worse than any cruelty ever had. Why? I whispered. Why treat me differently? Thorn hesitated, then murmured. Because every instinct I have tells me that if I force you, I will lose you forever. My breath caught. Before I could respond, he turned away, giving me space, giving me air, giving me the impossible gift of choice. For the first time in my life, someone with power wasn't trying to control me. He was trying to understand me. I stepped into the small adjoining room, lit by soft candles and warmed by a private fire. Just before the door closed, I glanced back at the Alpha King. He looked at me one last time, storm eyes filled with something I didn't yet understand. Something dangerous. Something protective. Something ancient. And I wondered, closing the door between us, which frightened me more. Returning to a village that had cast me aside, or staying in Frostfall Keep, where a man like King Thorn waited. Sleep did not come easily. The small adjoining chamber was warm and comfortable, far more luxurious than anything I'd known back in River Hollow. A thick pelt lay across the bed, its softness like a whisper against my skin, and a single candle burned low on the bedside table. Yet my mind churned restlessly. King Thorn's words repeated in my thoughts again and again. If I force you, I will lose you forever. Your choice, Lyra, not theirs. I had never been given choices. Only orders, expectations, sacrifices. And here, in the heart of Frostfall Keep, the most powerful alpha in the Northern Kingdoms had offered me something no one else ever had. Freedom. That alone made him dangerous. I turned onto my side, staring at the flickering candle flame. Outside the small window, snow drifted across the courtyard like feathers shaken from a winged creature. The moon hung heavy above the keep, swollen with silver light. As I watched, a faint shimmer appeared near the window, wispy, like fog gathering into a vague shape. My breath caught. A spirit. I hadn't seen one in weeks, not since the council had told me to stop hallucinating. But here it was, hovering lightly, pressing an outline of a face toward the glass. Not now, I whispered softly. Please. The spirit tilted as if listening. Its misty form pulsed with soft silver light. What are you trying to show me? I asked quietly. It turned, drifting its head toward the main chamber door, the barrier between me and King Thorn. A warning? A message? A sign? Before I could interpret it, the spirit dissolved into moonlit mist. A shiver traveled down my spine. I slipped out of bed and wrapped the pelt around my shoulders, padding silently toward the door. My hand hovered over the handle. I shouldn't open it. I should remain in the room he'd given me, respecting distance, respecting caution. But something, instinct, curiosity, fate, drew me forward. I opened the door a crack. Thorn sat near the hearth, elbows resting on his knees, staring into the fire with an expression that startled me by its vulnerability. Gone was the hardened king who commanded armies. This Thorn looked almost human. Wounded. Haunted. As I stepped out quietly, he didn't look up. You're awake. His voice was rough, as though he'd been wrestling with thoughts he'd rather bury. You're not resting either, I replied softly. He exhaled through his nose. Sleep avoids me many nights. Then after pause, especially tonight. Something inside my chest tightened. Because of me? His gaze shifted, meeting mine fully. Yes. I swallowed. I saw a spirit. Most men would scoff or edge away. Thorn didn't. What did it show you? He asked quietly. That I wasn't meant to stay in my room, I said before thinking. That I should be here. Thorn's jaw flexed, but his voice remained steady. Then stay. I hesitated before moving to sit across from him, by the fire. The warmth curled around us, and the shifting light played across his features, softening the hard angles of his face. You believe me, I murmured. Most people think I'm lying. Or cursed. I believe what I see, Thorn replied, and what I sent. You are not cursed. You are gifted. I looked into the flames. My village feared what they didn't understand. That is the problem with small minds, he said. They confuse difference with danger. I blinked. Is that how you see me? Different. His lips twitched. Exceedingly. Heat rose to my cheeks, not embarrassment, but something warmer, deeper. He leaned back slightly, watching the fire. When you walked into that hall tonight, every alpha felt your presence. I frowned. Because I was a new face? No, he said. Because there was a shift in the air, like the first wind before a storm. He glanced at me. And because you carry an aura I cannot explain. My fingers tightened on the pelt around my shoulders. That sounds dangerous. It is, he said quietly. But not to me. We fell into silence. But it wasn't uncomfortable. It was charged. The kind of silence that vibrated with unsaid things. Finally, I asked, why were you alone out here? He hesitated. Because I've been thinking too much. About what? You, he answered simply. I froze. He continued, voice still low. I am king over a harsh land. My decisions must be cold and precise. But tonight I broke protocol, tradition, and expectation when I chose you. His eyes flicked toward mine. And now I wonder what it means. I forced a shaky breath. Choosing me, was that instinct? Curiosity? Or something else? I don't know yet, he admitted. But I intend to find out. My heart stumbled at the honesty in his tone. He studied me quietly for a moment. Are you afraid of me, Lyra? Yes, I said truthfully. But not for the reasons you think. His brows pulled together. Explain. I'm afraid because for the first time in my life, my voice wavered, but I continued. Someone powerful is offering me a choice. And I don't know what to do with that. Thorn's expression softened. Not the way a man softens for weakness, but the way an alpha softens for understanding. You don't have to decide tonight, he said. Or tomorrow. Or even next week. My breath hitched. Then why bring me here at all? He leaned forward, eyes focused on mine like an anchor. Because my instincts tell me that if I let you walk out of this keep, I will regret it for the rest of my life. The fire crackled between us. The room felt too warm, too small, too close. And yet, for the first time since entering Frostfall Keep, the fear in my chest eased. Not vanished, just shifted into something new. Something far more dangerous. Something far more hopeful. The firelight crackled between us, its glow painting gold across the stone floor. I wasn't sure how long we sat like that. Two figures in the quiet heart of the largest fortress in the north, neither willing to break whatever fragile understanding held us suspended. At last, Thorn spoke again. You said a spirit guided you out of your room. He eyed me, curiosity mixing with something sharper. Does that happen often? I hesitated. Most people recoiled when I mentioned my visions. Even my own grandmother warned me that speaking too freely invited fear. But Thorn wasn't afraid. Only intent. Focused. As if each word I offered mattered. Not exactly often, I said, drawing the pelt closer around me. But enough that I've learned not to ignore them. They don't appear without reason. What reason tonight? He asked quietly. I swallowed. To come to you. He stilled. Not dramatically, just a subtle tightening in his shoulders, a single breath caught in his chest. But I felt the shift in the room, like a storm front. Why would they want you near me? He murmured. I don't know. My fingers twisted into the pelt. Spirits don't speak in plain words. They show feelings, impressions, directions, not explanations. He leaned forward, elbows braced on his knees. Then what did this spirit feel like? I let my eyes drift to the dying fire as I searched for the right description. Cold, I whispered, but not dangerous. Curious, focused, and familiar. The last word slipped out before I could stop it. Thorn's gaze sharpened. Familiar how? I forced myself to continue, like the sensation I felt when you called me out in the Great Hall. His jaw clenched, then relaxed as though he understood more than he wanted to admit. He rose from his chair slowly, moving to the window. Snow drifted outside in thick, soft waves. For a moment, he seemed carved from the same ancient ice the keep was built upon. It seems, he said, voice low, that whatever calls to you calls to me as well. My breath caught. Something in the way he said those words felt important. Heavy. Almost like a truth neither of us had dared acknowledge. He turned back toward me, and the intensity in his eyes made my pulse flutter. I told you earlier that I don't know what drew me to you, he said. But that was only half of the truth. I blinked. What's the other half? He began to pace, clearly uncomfortable for the first time since I'd met him. In my line, he said slowly, alphas sometimes experience surges. Instincts that flare when someone significant enters our orbit. Significant. I echoed. He nodded once. A person whose presence disrupts the natural pathways of fate. I frowned. Is that a polite way to say you think I'm trouble? A flash of amusement crossed his face. Quick but genuine. You're trouble, he said. But not the dangerous kind. The annoying kind? The fated kind. My breath lodged in my throat. Fated. I didn't fully understand the implications, but the word vibrated through my ribcage like it had been spoken somewhere deeper than the physical world. He continued, voice steady. The moment your scent reached me in that hall, my wolf. He paused, jaw tightening. Reacted. I stared. Reacted how? Like it recognized you. A quiet settled in the chamber. Not empty, full. Charged. I wrapped my arms around myself. I don't feel like anyone would recognize. Thorn stepped back toward me, not close enough to touch, but close enough that his presence pressed warm and solid against my senses. You don't see yourself clearly. His voice softened. And your village never wanted you to. I looked away. You read that letter. They called me unstable, dangerous. And they were wrong. His tone grew fierce. I have seen madness. I have seen danger. You are neither. I hesitated. Then what am I? He exhaled slowly, as though choosing his words with care. You are something my instincts have been searching for since before I knew what I was missing. Heat surged beneath my skin, embarrassment, confusion, anticipation, all tangled together. That doesn't make sense, I whispered. No, he agreed. It doesn't. And yet, here we are. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. Thorn moved to stand beside me, not touching, but close enough that I felt his warmth. Lyra, he said softly, tell me the truth. When you look at me, what do you feel? The question stole the air from my lungs. I wanted to lie, to protect myself, to pretend the strange pull between us was imagined. But every time he looked at me, something old stirred beneath my skin. Something that whispered in a language older than fear. I feel. I swallowed hard. Drawn to you. Thorn inhaled sharply. Not possessively. Not triumphantly. But like the answer mattered to him. Like he'd been waiting to breathe again. He turned, meeting my gaze with quiet intensity. Then we are not imagining this, he said. Not you. Not me. I opened my mouth to respond, but the chamber door suddenly rattled. Thorn stiffened instantly, alpha instincts flaring. A soldier's voice called from the hallway. Your Majesty, urgent news from the northern border. Thorn's expression shifted from vulnerability to authority in an instant. He turned back to me, storm eyes locking onto mine. This conversation, he said quietly, is not finished. Then he strode to the door, and disappeared into the hallway, leaving me alone with a fire, a pelt around my shoulders, and a truth that felt far too big for my chest. Whatever bound us was growing stronger, and neither of us understood it yet. The door thudded shut behind King Thorn, leaving a hollow quiet in the chamber. For a long moment, I didn't move. The fire crackled beside me, its flames casting trembling shadows that made the pelt around my shoulders seem heavier than before. Urgent news from the northern border. I didn't know what that meant for Frostfall Keep, or for me. But one thing was certain. Thorn hadn't wanted to leave, and I hadn't wanted him to go. I stood and walked quietly to the window. The snow had grown thicker, swirling in frantic patterns as if driven by a restless wind. The sky beyond was paling at the edges, dawn approaching. I expected the familiar feeling of dread, the weight that always came with sunrise in a place I didn't belong. But instead, there was a strange stillness inside me, as if some part of me insisted that, for the first time, I was exactly where I needed to be. I whispered to the window, to no one and to everything. What are we becoming, you and I? No answer came, except the whisper of wind. A faint knock sounded at the side door. I startled, pulling the pelt more tightly around myself. Lyra? A soft female voice. It was the tattooed warrior who'd escorted me earlier, the one with the jagged runic marks along her arms. She cracked the door open. The king asked me to stay nearby. He didn't want you left alone. My heart skipped. Is he all right? Her expression softened a little. Physically? Of course. Mentally? She tilted her head. You're the only one who seems to rattle his composure in years. I flushed. That wasn't my intention. Maybe not. But it happened anyway. She leaned against the doorframe. May I come in? I nodded, stepping aside. She entered with the quiet confidence of a seasoned warrior, eyes sharp even at this early hour. Her gaze flicked to the chairs by the fire. You've both been awake all night, she observed. I can smell the exhaustion. I tensed. Did I do something wrong? No. Quite the opposite. She gestured toward the chairs. Sit with me. I hesitated, then complied. The warrior studied me thoughtfully. I am Captain Rowan, Thorn's second in command. I blinked. He trusts you. With his life, she confirmed. Which is why I need to tell you something he would never speak aloud. Nerves prickled at my skin. What is it? Rowan leaned forward, her tattooed arms resting on her knees. When Thorn sense something, truly sense it, he is never wrong. His instincts are dangerous, unyielding, absolute. My pulse raced. Why are you telling me this? Because what he scented in you tonight? She shook her head slowly. I've never seen him respond to anyone that way. I swallowed hard. What did he respond to? You, she said simply. Your presence. Your scent. Your aura, whatever it is the moon gifted you. I looked down at the pelt in my hands. I don't know what any of it means. Neither does he, Rowan said. And Thorn hates not knowing. It makes him reckless. My head snapped up. Reckless how? She hesitated. Then, he will go to the borders at dawn. Fear prickled sharp and cold across my skin. Is it dangerous? Yes. Rowan didn't sugarcoat it. There are rumors of rogue packs crossing into our lands. Strong ones. Unpredictable. Thorn believes they are moving toward Frostfall for a purpose. For me? I whispered. She didn't answer, which told me enough. I stood abruptly. I should speak to him. No, Rowan rose too, blocking my path. You need to understand something first. She lowered her voice. Thorn is a powerful alpha, but he is also a man. A man who hasn't let anyone close, not truly, for years. If you push him too quickly, if you awaken something he's spent a lifetime restraining, you might overwhelm him. My breath quickened. I don't want to overwhelm him. Then be careful. Be honest. And above all, her gaze sharpened. Don't run from what you feel. He will chase you. Not physically, Thorn isn't a brute. But emotionally, his instincts will not release what they believe is his. My heart thudded painfully. He said the choice was mine. And he meant it, Rowan said firmly. But instincts don't listen to promises. They listen to fate. I wrapped my arms around myself. I'm not ready for fate. No one ever is. Her voice softened. But sometimes fate doesn't wait. As she turned to leave, I blurted, Rowan, do you think Thorn is dangerous to me? She paused at the door. Yes, she said. But only in the way a storm is dangerous. My stomach twisted. Meaning? Meaning he can drown you if you stand too close. But he can also protect you, shape you, and give you power you never imagined. Her jaw tightened. The question is whether you fear the storm or whether part of you is born for it. Then she slipped out, leaving me with a pounding heart and too many truths. I sank back into the chair and pressed a hand to my pendant. When the king returns, I whispered, everything will be different. I didn't know how I knew that, but I did. I felt it. In my bones. In my blood. In whatever strange thread connected Thorn and me. Some bond had begun forming in the shadows of this keep. And dawn would test it. I didn't return to bed. Instead, I sat by the fire, wrapped in the white wolf pelt, watching the flames shift from gold to pale orange as dawn crept over Frostfall Keep. The castle felt strangely awake, distant footsteps echoing, murmured voices, the cold hush of morning routines beginning. Every sound tugged at my nerves, because Thorn was leaving, and I didn't know when he'd return, or if he'd return at all. I pressed a hand to the obsidian pendant at my throat. It felt warmer than usual, almost pulsing faintly, like a heartbeat that wasn't mine. Then, footsteps approached. Slow, heavy, familiar. Thorn stepped through the door. He was dressed in black riding leathers, thick fur cloak clasped at his shoulder, gloves tucked under one arm. His hair was tied back, revealing the proud line of his jaw and the faint shadows under his eyes, evidence that neither of us had slept. When he saw me by the fire, his expression softened, almost imperceptibly, but enough that something in my chest tightened. You're awake, he said quietly. So are you, I replied. He huffed a breath, half laugh, half sigh. I doubt either of us could have slept. Silence passed between us. Not awkward. Heavy. Full. He stepped closer until the firelight illuminated the silver thread woven through his dark cloak. I didn't expect you to still be here, he admitted. I swallowed. Rowan told me you're leaving for the northern border. He stiffened. Rowan speaks too freely. She was worried, I said gently. His jaw worked, but after a moment he relaxed. The borders require my attention. There have been disturbances. Packs moving strangely. Something is stirring in the north. And you'll go alone? Not alone, he corrected. With my best warriors. But yes, without my court. I hesitated, then forced myself to ask, is it because of me? His eyes snapped to mine. The intensity there made me shiver, not in fear, but in recognition. No, he said firmly. But I think whatever is happening is connected to what you are. My breath caught. And what am I? He stepped closer, lowering his voice. A moon-touched omega. A rare one. A dangerous one. His gaze softened. A necessary one. I shook my head. I don't understand. You will, he said. In time. I clenched the pelt tighter. You sound so certain. He studied me, as if weighing whether to reveal a truth he'd long kept hidden. Finally he spoke. When I scent danger, Lyra, I prepare for war. When I scent fate, his voice grew quiet. I prepare for change. My heart hammered painfully. And what did you scent in me? Thorn exhaled, long and slow. Both. The admission struck me like a physical blow. He looked away, suddenly solemn. I cannot afford distraction on the battlefield. And you? I'm a distraction? I tried to sound offended, but my voice wavered. A powerful one, he murmured. More than you know. Silence fell. Thorn moved until he stood only a breath away from me. The fire behind him cast his face in shadows and light, making him look both fierce and heartbreakingly human. Before I leave, he said softly, I need to know one thing. My breath hitched. What? Will you be here when I return? The question struck deeper than anything he'd said. My throat tightened. Thorn, I won't bind you, he cut in gently. I won't trap you. His voice lowered. But I need to know whether I'm leaving an empty chamber behind, or someone waiting. My eyes burned. I looked down, unable to hold his gaze. I don't know how to answer, I whispered. Then answer honestly. I hesitated. Then, I don't want to leave. Thorn inhaled sharply, as if my words struck something raw and vulnerable inside him. Then don't, he murmured. But I'm afraid, I admitted. Of myself. Of this. Of the spirits. Of the way I feel when you look at me. He stepped closer, still not touching, but near enough that my pulse stuttered. You're not the only one afraid, he said. That startled me enough to lift my eyes. You? The Alpha King? His lips twitched faintly. Yes, Lyra. Even kings fear what they do not understand. A breathless quiet settled between us. He lifted a gloved hand, paused, then lowered it again without touching my skin. I want to reach for you, he confessed, voice strained, but I will not take what isn't freely given. My heart clenched. He turned slightly, as if to leave, then paused again. If anything happens to me, don't say that. You must leave Frostfall. Go south. Find Rowan. She will protect you. I shook my head fiercely. Nothing will happen to you. He held my gaze for a long moment, so long my pulse thrummed like a second heartbeat. I hope you're right, he murmured. Then, slowly, deliberately, he extended his hand, palm up, offering, not demanding. Not a command. A choice. My breath shuddered, and I placed my hand in his. His fingers curled around mine, warm and steady, grounding me in a way I'd never known. Be safe, I whispered, voice breaking. He squeezed my hand gently. Wait for me. Then he released me, too soon, and turned to leave. His cloak swirled behind him as he opened the heavy door. Cold air rushed in, carrying the smell of snow and distant danger. Just before crossing the threshold, he glanced back at me. Lyra. Yes. He held my eyes with quiet intensity. Whatever happens out there, remember this morning. Then he disappeared into the blinding sweep of winter light. The door shut, and I was alone, with a restless fire, a glowing pendant, and a fear I'd never felt before. Not fear of him, but fear of losing him. The moment Thorn left Frostfall Keep, the castle seemed to exhale, long and hollow, like it had been holding its breath and wasn't sure what to do now that he was gone. I stood motionless after the door closed, staring at the empty space where he had been. My hand still tingled where his fingers had held it, as if the warmth of his touch lingered long after he'd pulled away. Wait for me, he had said. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what we were becoming, but I knew how my heart reacted at the thought of him riding into danger. With fear, with worry, with something more. Something I wasn't ready to name. I wrapped the white pelt more tightly around myself and sank into the chair by the fire. The flames, once warm, now felt distant. Rowan reappeared shortly after, her boots crunching lightly on the stone. He's gone, she asked. I nodded. She sighed, rubbing her temples. He shouldn't have gone without resting first. Why? I asked. Is it that dangerous? Rowan hesitated, then sat across from me. The northern border is unpredictable. Something has been stirring in the wildlands. Wolves acting erratically. Packs moving with no clear purpose. Some swear they've seen shadows shifting through the trees, things that aren't wolves or men. I shivered. Have you seen anything? Yes, she said quietly. Once. And I've trained myself not to describe it. Her tone left no room for questions. She studied me for a moment, her sharp green eyes unreadable. You care about him already, don't you? She asked bluntly. My breath caught. I don't know. You do, she said simply. But you're afraid to admit it. I've only known him a day, I whispered, staring into the fire. How can feelings grow so quickly? Rowan shrugged. Time means little when instincts get involved. Instincts. The word tugged at something deep inside me. I pressed my hand to my pendant. The obsidian stone was warm again, warmer than ever. Rowan's eyes followed the motion. Tell me something, Lyra. Has that pendant always behaved strangely? Yes, I admitted. But only recently. It's been waking up. Rowan leaned forward. Your grandmother gave it to you? I nodded. She said it was from the old moon faith, the one forgotten by most. Rowan's brows drew together. Do you feel different when it warms? Yes, I said after a pause. It's like something is calling me north. Rowan inhaled sharply. That's not good. I stiffened. Why? She stood abruptly and began pacing the chamber. Lyra, the wildlands lie north of Frostfall, beyond the mountains. They're cursed lands, untouched by kingdoms, untouched by treaties. Spirits roam freely there, and some say ancient wolves walk in forms not meant for mortals. My skin prickled. And you think something there is calling me? I think something there knows what you are, Rowan said. And I think Thorn going north alone is no coincidence. A chill slithered through me. My pendant pulsed once, like a heartbeat. Rowan, I whispered. What am I? She stopped pacing and met my gaze with surprising gentleness. You are moon-touched, Lyra, and that makes you someone the spirits recognize, even if you don't recognize yourself yet. I swallowed hard. And Thorn? Rowan hesitated. Then, Thorn's wolf recognized you instantly. Alphas don't scent fade often, but when they do, it changes everything. I pressed a hand to my racing heart. Is that why he looked at me like that? Like he already knew me? Yes, Rowan said. And that is exactly why I'm worried. Worried? About what? About what happens if he faces danger out there and thinks of you. The implication hit me like a blow. You think it will distract him? I whispered. Rowan nodded. Thorn fights best with a clear mind. But nothing about you gives him clarity. I opened my mouth to argue, but the truth lodged in my throat. Because she was right. I had seen it in Thorn's eyes. He was steady, decisive, fiercely controlled, except when it came to me. A sudden gust of wind rattled the window panes. The candle flames flickered wildly. And then, a shape appeared behind the glass. A glimmer. A shimmer. A faint figure made of moonlight and frost. Another spirit. It leaned closer, pressing a faceless outline to the icy window. Rowan spun around, hand on her dagger. What is that? A spirit. I breathed. Another one. The spirit lifted a hand, if it could be called that, and pointed north, straight toward the wildlands, straight toward Thorn. My breath hitched. It's warning us. The spirit's form pulsed, then fractured into 6 smaller shapes, all scattering outward like cracks in ice. Then they faded into nothing. Rowan swore under her breath. That's not good. I moved toward the window. What does it mean? It means Thorn is in danger, Rowan said grimly. My pulse thundered in my ears. We have to warn him.
He's too far, Rowan said.
Even if we sent a rider now, the storm would slow them. And once Thorn reaches the pass, there's no way to track him. I grabbed her arm. Then let me go after him. Rowan recoiled in shock. Absolutely not. I can sense the spirits, I argued. I can follow them. They can lead me. Lyra, you don't understand what's in those mountains. I don't care. Rowan's eyes widened. You're not trained. You're not armed. And you have no idea what's calling you. I don't need training, I said fiercely. I need him to come back alive. The warrior stared at me, really stared, and something in her expression softened. You care, she murmured again. More than you realize. I didn't deny it. I couldn't. Rowan ran a hand through her hair. Thorn will kill me if I let you follow him. I lifted my chin. And what will he do, if he dies out there? Rowan winced. Finally, she exhaled in defeat. Gods help me, you have the king's stubbornness. I stepped closer. So you'll help me? She hesitated for a long moment. Then she nodded.
Yes.
but only because I think whatever is happening is bigger than you or him. Her gaze hardened. We ride at once. The fire crackled behind us. My pendant pulsed again, and I felt, deep in my bones, that destiny was shifting, and the wildlands were waiting. Within an hour, Rowan had gathered what little we could carry: heavy cloaks, rations, flint, dried herbs, and 2 thick-furred horses bred for the mountain cold. Everything about her movements was quick, precise, purposeful. But beneath her practiced efficiency, I could feel the simmering tension. We were doing something reckless. Something Thorn would never forgive her for. Something I might not return from. As she tightened the strap on her saddle, Rowan shot me a hard look. "Last chance to back out," she said. "Once we leave the main road, there's no turning around." I swallowed. "I'm not backing out." "Didn't think you would," she muttered, swinging up onto her horse. Stubbornness seems contagious. I pulled myself into the other saddle, awkward but determined. My horse, a massive gray mare, snorted and pawed the snow. Rowan eyed the pendant around my neck. "If that thing starts glowing, humming, vibrating, or screaming, tell me." "It doesn't scream," I said. "It looks like it wants to," Rowan countered. With that comforting remark, she kicked her horse into motion. We rode through the outer gates of Frostfall Keep as the sun started its slow climb over the horizon. The world beyond the walls was a vast expanse of white, rolling snowfields, jagged mountain silhouettes, and forests rimed in frost. The path north was narrow and winding, barely wide enough for 2 riders. Crisp winds battered us, carrying flecks of snow like glass shards. Rowan led the way, her posture tense, eyes scanning the ridgelines. "What exactly are we looking for?" I asked. "Signs," she said. "Tracks, shifts in the wind. Anything that indicates a disturbance." "And spirits?" Rowan's jaw tightened. "Hopefully none." But the pendant at my throat warmed again, contradicting her hope. We traveled in silence for almost an hour before something strange caught my eye. The snow ahead shimmered, like moonlight on water. Rowan saw it at the same time I did. "Lyra, don't move." But something in me already knew. "It's a trail," I whispered. "A what?" "A spirit trail. My grandmother described them once." I guided my horse closer, my fingers brushing the shimmering air. "They only appear when someone marked by the spirits has passed recently." Rowan's eyes went wide. "You're saying this is from Thorn?" I shook my head.
"No."
"This one feels older, wilder." The shimmer brightened, pulsing once, then stretching forward like a beckoning thread of light winding deeper into the forest. "It wants us to follow," I breathed. Rowan swore. "This is a mistake." "Rowan," I said softly. "If we don't follow, we'll never catch Thorn." She grit her teeth, then reluctantly nodded.
"Fine."
"But if a spirit tries to talk to me, I'm running." We followed the spectral path. The forest grew denser around us, ancient pines coated in frost, branches heavy with snow. The air grew colder the deeper we rode, until our breaths were visible clouds. "This place feels wrong," Rowan muttered. "It feels watched," I whispered. Because it was. The trees hummed softly, vibrating with a strange, ancient presence, something not human, not wolf, yet unmistakably alive. Then, a shape flickered between the trees. Rowan's hand went instantly to her sword. "What was that?" I stopped my horse, eyes narrowing. A spirit. The figure materialized fully, a tall, slender silhouette made of swirling frost and moon-pale light. Its outline flickered, shifting like liquid silver. Not human, not wolf, something older. It approached slowly, leaving no footprints in the snow. Rowan whispered, "Lyra?" "It's okay," I murmured, though I wasn't entirely sure. The spirit lifted its featureless head. Then it bowed. A wave of cold air rippled outward. Rowan snapped. "Why is it doing that?" "It's showing respect," I said, stunned. "To us." "No," Rowan corrected, pointing at me. "To you." The spirit straightened, then extended a hand made of drifting shards. Its touch hovered near my pendant without quite touching. A wordless message filled my mind, an impression more than language.
North.
Danger.
Fate.
I gasped softly. Rowan leaned close. What is it saying? It wants us to hurry. Toward Thorn.
Yes.
Something's coming for him. My heart pounded. And something is coming for me. Rowan looked between me and the spirit. What does that mean? I don't know, I whispered. But I think the spirits do. Suddenly, the spirit stiffened, head jerking sharply toward the mountains. A deep, echoing howl rolled through the trees. Not a wolf. Not anything earthly. The spirit's form rippled violently, then shattered into glittering snowflakes that scattered on the wind. Rowan's face went pale. That wasn't normal. My pendant pulsed harder, almost painfully. Then I felt it, like a tug beneath my ribs.
A pull.
Faint, but unmistakable. Much stronger than before. Lyra? Rowan asked cautiously.
I swallowed hard.
Thorn, I whispered. He's calling me. Rowan's eyes widened. You can feel him? Yes, I breathed. And he's afraid. Rowan didn't hesitate. She tightened her grip on her reins. Then we ride. She dug her heels into her horse's sides, snow exploding beneath her. I followed, the spectral trail vanishing as the forest opened before us. The wind howled through the branches like a warning. The mountains loomed ahead, dark, jagged, unforgiving. The wildlands were calling, and Thorn was somewhere within them, facing something meant to remain forgotten. Something that had awakened the spirits. Something hunting him, and now hunting me. The deeper we traveled into the north, the more the world changed. The forest thinned. The mountains grew taller. The air sharpened, cold enough to sting exposed skin. By midday, the sky darkened unnaturally, clouds swirling in heavy gray coils that swallowed the sun. A biting wind howled down the cliffs, carrying whispers that felt almost human. Rowan tightened her cloak. Storm's moving in. It's too early for storm, I murmured. That's what worries me. We guided our horses up a narrow mountain pass, their hooves crunching through snow so deep it brushed their knees. I kept one hand on the reins, the other pressed to the obsidian pendant. Its warmth was constant now, like a heartbeat buried against my skin. I could feel Thorn. Not see him. Not hear him.
Just sense him. Fear.
Determination. The faintest echo of pain. It burned through me like fire. Rowan saw the tension in my posture. You felt something again. He's close, I whispered. But something's wrong. Rowan's jaw clenched. Then we need to move faster. We urged the horses forward, and suddenly the wind shifted, slamming into us with enough force to nearly knock me sideways in the saddle. Rowan cursed. Spirits, help us. This isn't weather. This is magic. My pendant flared hot. Not just warm, hot. Rowan. I know, she snapped, already pulling her horse to a halt. There's something ahead. The wind died abruptly. The mountain went silent. And then, the snow in front of us moved. Not a drift. Not a trick of the light. A shape. Rising. Standing. Forming. A massive creature made of swirling ice and shadow clawed its way upward, towering over us. Its body was lupin, but wrong. Limbs too long, head too narrow, eyes burning with a pale blue that cut through the storm. Rowan's breath hitched. What in the frozen hells is that? A spirit-wrought wolf, I whispered, heart pounding, but corrupted. The creature let out a shriek, like metal scraping stone. Our horses reared in terror. Rowan drew her sword in one fluid motion. Lyra, get back. The wolf lunged. Rowan's horse jerked, and she narrowly dodged the swipe of claws that cut through the air like icy blades. Ride, Rowan shouted. I clutched the reins, but my horse panicked, rearing again. The creature turned its glowing eyes toward me, toward my pendant, as if drawn to it. No, I whispered. Not me.
Thorn.
It's hunting the moon touched and the one connected to them. The wolf hurled itself toward me. Rowan spurred her horse between us, sword flashing.
She swung.
Her blade sliced through the creature's shoulder. But instead of blood, shards of ice exploded outward, spraying across the snow. The creature staggered, then turned on Rowan with a roar that shook the mountains. Rowan shouted, "Lyra, go. Run. I'm not leaving you. We don't have time to argue." But as she spoke, something shifted again. A second shape appeared on the ridge above. Then a third. A fourth. Dozens. Glowing blue eyes blinked through the storm, watching us. Rowan paled. "Lyra, don't panic." "I already am panicking," I hissed. She swallowed. "Valid." The pack descended the slope in eerie silence, surrounding us like ghosts with teeth. Then, the mountain wind howled again. This time not natural. The spirits were screaming. A vision burst into my mind. So sudden I gasped.
Thorn.
Standing alone in a narrow canyon. Sword drawn.
Back to the wall.
Surrounded by the same blue-eyed creatures. Dozens. Maybe more. "Rowan," I whispered. "He's here. He's in the wildlands. And he's trapped." Rowan turned her head sharply. "You saw him?"
Yes.
"He's fighting them alone. Damn it." Rowan's knuckles whitened against her sword hilt. "Then we're going after him."
How?
I demanded, gesturing around us. "We're surrounded." Rowan scanned the wolf spirits, eyes narrowing. "They haven't attacked yet. They're deciding how," I muttered. "No," Rowan breathed. "They're waiting." "For what?" Rowan's face went pale as realization hit her. "For you." My blood froze. "What do you mean, for me?" "You're moon-touched," Rowan said. "They're drawn to your magic. Maybe they're waiting for you to make the first move." "That doesn't help us." "It might," she argued. "What if they don't want to kill you? What if they want you to lead them?" I stared at her. "Or they want to tear me apart." "That too." "Rowan, what?" She shrugged. "I'm being honest." Before I could respond, the largest spirit wolf lowered its head toward me, eyes glowing brighter. It took a slow, deliberate step forward. Then another. Rowan braced herself. "Lyra, do something moon-touched before it decides to eat us." "I don't know what I'm doing." "Fake it." The pendant blazed with heat, forcing a cry from my throat. The wolf stopped abruptly. The entire pack froze. The mountain held its breath. Energy surged up my spine, cold and blinding, forcing my hand to the pendant. I felt something awaken, something that had been waiting for the right moment. The spirits didn't bow. They trembled. Rowan whispered, "Lyra, what are you doing?" "I don't know," I said through clenched teeth. "It's doing it on its own." Light exploded outward from the pendant, a shockwave of white radiance that rippled across the snow. The wolves recoiled, not in pain, but in submission. Their bodies lowered. Their heads bowed. Every single one of them. Rowan stared at me like I'd sprouted wings. "Are you commanding them?" "I'm trying not to pass out." The largest wolf lifted its head and gave a short, sharp howl, directed at the mountain pass to the north. It was a message. A direction. A warning. "Rowan," I whispered. "They're leading us to him." Rowan didn't hesitate. "Then we follow." The wolves parted like a path, silent and eerie, their glowing eyes fixed on me as we rode through them. The air hummed with tension. The storm raged overhead. And far ahead, through the swirling snow, I felt him.
Thorn. Calling me.
Weakening. Waiting. I dug my heels into my horse's sides. "I'm coming," I whispered into the wind. "Hold on." The spirit wolves moved like a silent river of light, weaving through the blizzard ahead of us. Their paws made no sound. Their bodies flickered between solid and spectral. Every few moments, the largest one glanced back, as if ensuring I was still following. Rowan kept her horse close to mine. "Just for the record," she muttered, "this is the strangest day of my life." I managed a strained breath. "Mine too." "Do you feel him still?" she asked quietly. "Yes," I whispered. "He's fading." Rowan swallowed hard. "Then we ride faster." We pushed our mounts harder, faster, until wind lashed our faces and snow blurred the world into white streaks. The spirit wolves guided us through narrow ravines and hidden paths no living wolf could have found beneath the snow. At last, the forest broke open. A canyon stretched before us, dark stone walls rising like jagged teeth. The wind funneled through it, carrying a metallic scent that made my stomach drop.
Blood.
My pulse thundered. Rowan halted abruptly. Lyra, look. Shapes lay scattered across the canyon floor, creatures like the ones we had seen earlier, their bodies broken, melting back into drifting shards of ice. Thorn's sword strokes. I slid off my horse, legs trembling. He was here. Rowan crouched beside one of the fallen spirit wolves. Recently, but not more than an hour ago. My chest constricted. Rowan, where is he now? She stood slowly, her face pale. Lyra.
Look.
I followed her gaze deeper into the canyon. And there, half buried in snow, slumped against a stone outcrop, was Thorn. His cloak was torn. His chest rose shallowly. His sword lay beside him, its blade cracked. A strangled sound escaped me, and I ran. Lyra, wait. Rowan called, but her voice was swept away by the wind. I fell to my knees beside him, hands shaking as I touched his face. Thorn. His skin was cold, too cold. I pressed my ear to his chest. A heartbeat, faint, thready, irregular. Thorn, I whispered again, my voice breaking. Open your eyes. He didn't. The world narrowed to a single point, the rising and falling of his chest, each breath smaller than the last. Rowan arrived seconds later, eyes scanning the canyon for threats. He's alive? Yes, I said, tears burning my eyes. But barely. Rowan dropped to her knees.
Gods.
We need to get him warm.
Now.
I shook my head violently.
No.
No, something else is wrong. The spirits brought us here. There has to be a reason. As if in answer, my pendant pulsed.
Once. Twice.
Then blazed like a captured star. Rowan flinched. Lyra, your pendant. Light poured from it, illuminating Thorn's still form. The air hummed, vibrating with ancient energy. A low, mournful howl echoed through the canyon. The spirit wolves appeared along the ridges, watching silently. Rowan whispered, "Why are they here?" I knew. They weren't here for me. They were here for him. The pendant's light grew brighter until it was almost blinding. Instinctively, I lifted it and pressed it to the center of Thorn's chest. A shock of power surged through us both. His body jerked. My breath ripped from my lungs. The world tilted. And suddenly I wasn't in the canyon anymore. I was standing in a vast field of moonlight. Snow stretched endlessly. Stars shimmered overhead. Wind whispered in a voice that was almost human. And, before me,
Thorn.
But not as he was in the waking world. Here he stood tall and unbroken, his eyes glowing gold, his wolf form flickering beneath his skin like a second heartbeat. He stared at me in disbelief. Lyra? I ran to him, but stopped just short, afraid he might vanish. You're dying, I whispered. Your body is fading. He lifted a hand, brushing a strand of hair from my face. The touch was warm. I thought, he said quietly, that I'd never see you again. You shouldn't have come alone. His mouth tightened. I couldn't risk you. You nearly died. And I would again, he said simply, if it meant keeping you safe. My breath hitched. Thorn, why? Why risk everything for me? His gaze softened with something so fierce and tender it shattered me. Because when I walked into that great hall, he said, I scented my fate. I shook my head, tears slipping down my cheeks.
No.
That can't be. We barely know each other. This bond, this pull, it's too fast. Too strong. It's real, Thorn murmured. But you're afraid of it. Yes, I said honestly. I'm terrified. He stepped closer, his forehead resting against mine. Then let me be afraid with you. My breath caught. The world shimmered around us, the moonlight pulsing like a heartbeat. Your body is dying, I whispered. If you don't go back. I can't, he said quietly. Not alone. Something binds me here. I looked down at the pendant in my hand. The light within it pulsed in time with Thorn's heartbeat, as if connecting us. Understanding struck me like lightning. You're trapped between the world of spirits and the living. Thorn nodded once. They dragged me here. Maybe because I bear the scent of a moon-touched mate. The word mate sent a tremor through me. I swallowed. Then I have to pull you back. His eyes searched mine. Lyra, if you try, the spirits will sense the bond between us. They will make it permanent. I stiffened. Permanent. Unbreakable, he whispered. My pulse thundered.
A choice.
To save him.
To accept the bond that scared me.
To tie my life to his, by magic older than kingdoms. I closed my eyes, tears falling. Lyra, Thorn murmured. You don't have to choose me. I opened my eyes. You don't understand, I whispered. I already did. I lifted the pendant. Light burst outward. The moonlit world shattered like glass. I gasped back into my body with a cry, collapsing over Thorn as the pendant blazed like fire against us both. Rowan shielded her face as wind roared through the canyon. Spirit wolves howled in unison. And then, Thorn's chest rose sharply beneath my hands. His eyes flew open. Gold.
Bright.
Alive. He grabbed me instinctively, pulling me against him, breath ragged. Lyra. I'm here, I whispered, tears falling freely. I'm here. He pressed his forehead to mine, trembling with relief. You shouldn't have come. You shouldn't have left, I countered. His laugh was weak, but real. Fair. Rowan exhaled in disbelief. Gods above, how are you even? Thorn looked at her. I was guided back. He looked at me again. By her. The wind softened. The spirit wolves bowed their heads. And the pendant dimmed, its job done for now. Thorn cupped my cheek, his thumb brushing away a tear. You saved me. You gave me a reason to try, I whispered. Snow fell gently around us, settling like a blessing from the spirits. Thorn's eyes softened. Lyra, he murmured, whatever happens next, whatever this bond becomes, I want to face it with you. I swallowed, overwhelmed. I'm not ready to be your queen, I confessed. Or your mate.
Not fully.
Not yet. I know, he said softly. I can wait. My heart stuttered. But, I added, gripping his cloak, I don't want to run anymore. His breath caught. Hope lit his eyes like dawn breaking over the mountains. Then don't, he whispered. And in the heart of the wildlands, surrounded by spirits and snow, we made a quiet promise. Not a claiming. Not a bond.
Not yet.
Just a choice. To walk forward.
Together.
Whatever destiny waited.
We would meet it side by side.
And so ends our tale for now. Lyra and Thorn walk back from the edge of death, bound not by destiny alone, but by the choice to face it together. Their journey is far from over. The spirits still whisper. The wildlands still stir. And the bond between them is only just beginning to awaken. If this story touched you, if you felt the pull of fate, the danger, the slow burn connection, then join us for more worlds where darkness meets devotion, where love is forged in storms and shadows, and where every heart hides a prophecy. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter of our dark fantasy love stories. Until next time, walk carefully. The spirits are always watching.